before, having similar interviews.
Okay, Ambassador Richard Holbrooke, thanks so much. Important points there. So we'll see if this becomes the impetus to, I guess, reinstate NATO once again to try and quiet what we're seeing, or at least keep it from bubbling up even further. Ambassador, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
You've been listening to the former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Richard Holbrooke, speaking with Frederica Whitfield at CNN, giving his assessment of the situation there in the streets of Belgrade as Serbs protest Kosovo's declaration of independence, which happened on Sunday. We heard Holbrooke say that troops should have been in place before Kosovo declared its independence, saying that the Serbs were sure to demonstrate, as we have seen. Those demonstrations turned violent today as they turned onto the U.S. Embassy and began setting it on fire. Kosovo is a former Serbian province. They did declare their independence from Serbia Sunday. And that move was supported by the United States, by Britain, by France, by Germany, which is why the Serb demonstrators turned onto the U.S. Embassy today in Belgrade. You can see them there tearing down the U.S. flag. These are pictures and video from a little while ago. We understand now from the State Department that the situation is a bit more calm in Belgrade. The fire at the U.S. Embassy now is under control. There are U.S. Marines there. And right now we're going to let you listen to a correspondent. He's a journalist in Belgrade. His name is Milos Vasic. He's with the Serbian magazine Dream. He joined us earlier by phone with his observation of what was taking place at the time. Let's listen.
As far as I can see and hear from my sources, there is a general state of havoc with police forces of Belgrade trying desperately to protect diplomatic buildings, foreign banks, and foreign companies' offices in the city. After that great and really mass meeting which started at 5 o'clock this afternoon in Belgrade.
We've seen a lot of police, a lot of enforcement coming in. How many people are actually protesting now? We were told earlier today that up to 2 million protesters may have shown up for the peaceful protest.
No, it's the figure is grossly exaggerated.
Okay.
I would say something like between 100 and 150,000 and 200,000 at most. Most of those people actually went for a mass in the greatest Belgrade church of St. Sava. But the usual and usually suspect groups of football fan tribes and extreme right-wing chauvinists went, of course, as they did on Sunday night, to try and break whatever they could. I mean, foreign embassies, McDonald's restaurants, and foreign banks and foreign companies' offices, which is sort of a ritual here.
Okay. Had you heard of any planned protest? We knew that there was a protest going to take place, but it was supposed to be peaceful. Had you heard of any of these planned clashes?
What we heard were repeated warnings by our President, Mr. Tadic, and our Prime Minister, Mr. Koštunica, government ministers, and everybody else. Repeated warnings that the protest should be peaceful, calm, and dignified, but of course, certain part of the public I mentioned will always use any opportunity to clash with the police, to loot a couple of stores, etc. So what we are witnessing is a sort of a general looting frenzy, and it also has very definite political reasons. Because the overall attitude of Serbian government is, as expressed by one of our ministers, is that it is absolutely justified to break foreign embassies, because they broke our state, to quote one of our ministers.
Okay. So what does this mean? You know, the U.S. has acknowledged that Kosovo is an independent state. Is this a dangerous situation for these countries, including the U.S. and Britain, that we've come forth and declared that we support this independent state? What does this mean now?
Well, I hope that it's only a temporary reaction, that sooner or later everybody is going to get wiser and accept the reality. And the reality is that Kosovo Albanians, by themselves, have proclaimed in an absolute majority their independence, and there is nothing to do about that. That's the sad fact of life for the Serbs.
Okay. I understand there's about 2 million residents in Kosovo, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm reading there.
Well, we still don't have a census in Kosovo, but the very well informed estimates are something between 1.5 million and 2 million.
Okay. And I understand that many of them are thrilled with this being an independent state now, away from Serbia. What are you hearing from the Kosovo people?
Well, Kosovo Albanians are all of them practically. You can safely say 100% absolutely happy with the independence, and they consider that affair as finished and over. Kosovo Serbs, on the other hand, something between 150 or 180,000 are of course deeply unhappy, and they feel that's what I hear from them. They feel deeply concerned. And part of that concern is due to Belgrade's I would say, short-sighted policy. Instead of encouraging Kosovo Serbs to integrate themselves into the Kosovo political system, to take part in the elections, they have been encouraged to ignore all of that and take a very spiteful attitude. Now, absolutely ignoring the reality of life in Kosovo.
Back to the protest and what's happening on the streets in Belgrade today. Have you seen a lot of people being rushed to area hospitals? How serious are some of these injuries?
Well, as of this moment, and I just stopped watching TV and listening to the radio, we have tens of injured people, which is extremely worrying. The pattern of Sunday night is repeated. Most of the injured are police officers.
Okay. Does it seem like authorities are getting it under control at this point, or are the clashes still going on, or the protesters starting to back down?
I'm afraid the clashes are still going on, and we are going to wait, which is also something very well known, an established pattern, until right now it's 8:20, so let's say by 2 a.m. Things will be clear.
Okay. Are they asking people, residents there, to stay off the streets and stay in their homes?
Well, there have been warnings of that nature.
Okay.
But then having something like 200,000 people in the streets, you see, you can't avoid incidents like that. And the police force, being very disciplined, very professional, just can't take that pressure.
And Russia should want to see this kind of flare-up because it does undercut the authority of the rule of law as such, which Kosovo has been trying to follow. This was going to be brought before the UN for a vote, and that was the proper procedure. But this is something now that has interrupted that rule of law, and again, mob rule is now prevailing for the moment.
Escalated. Serbian police now trying to take control of the situation. We understand that they have secured the perimeter of the embassy now. All of this was expected, according to many UN and U.S. officials who say Serbian police should have expected the violence after the declaration was declared on Sunday. Lawrence Eagleberger is the former Secretary of State under the first President Bush. He spoke to CNN about the situation a few minutes ago.
The issue, I suspect, is not a great deal of pressure on these countries. It is rather an attempt now that we're all going to now have to see whether this is possible to bring this, if anything, is bring this, what's going on in Belgrade right now under some control. I personally think that give it another 24 to 48 hours and it will diminish in Belgrade, and it isn't as dangerous as it now looks. I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
Okay.
The longer-term relationship, the longer-term dangers of this unilateral declaration of independence are fairly substantial.